For our second example, we want to follow the same steps. We're always going to follow these same 3 steps. We find our domain, we find our LCD, and then we make sure that our solution is in the domain. So in the previous video, we determined that the domain for this was all values of x as long as x doesn't equal -3 or 3. It's a lot easier to determine the LCD once everything's factored. So I need to factor this quadratic on the right-hand side of my equation. X squared minus 9 is a difference of squares, so it factors to x minus 3, x plus 3. Next, I need to determine the LCD, the lowest common denominator. Well, in order for something to be divisible by x minus 3, it's going to have a factor of x minus 3. And in order for something to be divisible by x plus 3, it has to have a factor of x plus 3. And in order for something to be divisible by x squared minus 9, it needs a factor of x minus 3, which I already have, and a factor of x plus 3, which I already have. So the LCD is going to be x plus 3 times x minus 3. So I need to multiply both sides by x plus 3, x minus 3. And when I multiply this, remember I'm just multiplying the numerators, and I'm not going to skip any steps in this example just to make sure everyone sees what's happening. So now I have 2 times x minus 3, x plus 3 over x minus 3 minus x times x plus 3, x minus 3 over x plus 3 equals 12, x plus 3. There shouldn't be a plus symbol there. It's x plus 3 times x minus 3 all over x plus 3, x minus 3. And you're going to see some stuff cancel. My x minus 3's cancel. My x plus 3's cancel. My x plus 3 and my x minus 3 cancel. So I am left with 2 times x plus 3 minus x times x minus 3 equals 12. So I need to go ahead and distribute so I can simplify. I have 2x plus 6 minus x squared plus 3x equals 12. I have to combine like terms and set this equal to 0. So I have a negative x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 12. So if I move the 12 over, I have negative x squared plus 5x minus 6, and I need to pull out a factor of a negative because we don't like negative exponents. So I have negative x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Now I'm going to have to factor, but I've run out of room. So I'm going to make myself some room. We'll make room over here. Okay, all the blue is gone. So I need to know what are the, I need to know what are the factors of x squared plus x squared minus, that was a minus, 5x plus 6 that add up to I need to factor this, sorry. So I have negative x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And I say, okay, what are the factors of AC, which is 6, that add up to B, which is negative 5? Well, the factors of positive 6 would be negative 2 times negative 3. So I know this is going to factor to negative x minus 3x plus, nope, also minus x minus 2 equals 0. So I have x minus 3 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0, so I get x equals 3 and x equals 2. Next, I need to check that these are in my domain. Well, 3 is actually not included in my domain, so 3 is not a solution. Not a solution. But it's okay, because x equals 2, this is my solution. So that's why it's always important to check that your solution is indeed in your domain. So we're going to do 2 more examples because so much fun before this section ends. So let's take a look at 3 over p squared plus p minus 2 minus 1 over p squared minus 1 equals 7 over 2 times p squared plus 3p plus 2. And you bet I'm going to have to factor all those denominators before I do anything. So I say, okay, what are the factors of negative 2 that add up to 1? That's going to be a negative 1 and a positive 2. So I have p minus 1 times p plus 2. Then I say, okay, p squared minus 1, that's a difference of perfect squares because 1 squared is 1. So I have p minus 1 and p plus 1 as my factors. That's all equal to 7 over 2 times p squared plus 3p plus 2. So I find what are the factors of AC, which is 2 that add up to 3, and that is 1, and that is 2. So let's go ahead and find my domain. I find my domain by taking each of these factors and setting them equal to 0. Hopefully you can see we have quite a few repeats. So I have p minus 1 equals 0, p plus 2 equals 0, and p plus 1 equals 0. So I have that 1, negative 2, and negative 1 are excluded from my domain. Next, I need to figure out my LCD. Well, I'm going to have each of these factors, right? I have a p minus 1. I have a p plus 2. I have a p minus 1. Well, that's already taken care of. I have a p plus 1. That's new. I have a 2. Ooh, I need that. And then I have a p plus 1, which I already have, and a p plus 2, which I already have. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by our LCD. And I am going to skip the simplifying step in this case because it gets really long-winded. But if you want to write it out fully, I completely understand. I'm just not a big fan of skipping steps most of the time. So if I multiply this first term here, my p plus minus 1 and my p plus 1 are going to cancel. So I have 3 times 2, which is 6, times p plus 1, minus 2 times p plus 2, because my p minus 1 and p plus 1 cancel, equals 7 times p minus 1, because my 2 and my p plus 2 and my p plus 1 cancel. I need to go ahead and distribute so I can simplify. I have 6p plus 6 minus 2p minus 4 equals 7p minus 7. I combine like terms on the left. So I have 4p plus 2 equals 7p minus 7. I subtract 7p from both sides. I get negative 3p equals, let's subtract 2 from both sides, negative 9. So p equals 3. And 3 is in my domain, so I am superset. The last example, I take each of my denominators and set them equal to 0. So I get x equals negative 1/3 and x equals 0 are the two values excluded from my domain. So my domain is x as long as x doesn't equal negative 1/3 or 0. I then need to find my least common denominator. Well, my only denominators are the factor 3x plus 1, x, and then 3x plus 1 repeated. My LCD needs a factor of 3x plus 1 and a factor of x. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3x plus 1 times x. My 3x plus 1 is going to cancel in this first term, so I have 2x equals 1 times 3x plus 1 times x. My x's cancel, so I have 3x plus 1 minus my 3x plus 1 is going to cancel from that denominator. I have minus 6x squared. I'm going to move everything to the left-hand side of my equation because I want positive coefficients on my quadratic. And this will allow me to solve my equation more easily. So that's going to give me 6x squared. 2x minus 3x is negative x. Positive 1, you subtract 1, you get negative 1 equals 0. So now I need to figure out what are the factors of AC, which is negative 6, that add up to B, which is negative 1, and that's going to be negative 3 and 2. Now notice my leading coefficient isn't 1, so I can't just rewrite it fully factored like I was able to up here, right? Because that's x plus 1, x minus, OP, right? I just knew that because my leading coefficient's 1. Here I really have to pull my middle term apart into a negative 3x and a positive 2x minus 1 and factor by grouping. So 6x squared and 3x have a factor of 3x, so 3x times 2x minus 1. 2x and 1, their greatest common factor is 1, so I still pull that out. So I get 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 1 equals 0. And I said each of those factors equal to 0. So I find that x equals negative 1/3 or x equals a half. Well, x equals negative 1/3 is not in our domain, so not a solution. Our solution, so what I'm going to highlight in yellow right here, our solution is a positive 1/3.